You are listening to the Beyond the High Road podcast with Shelby Milford, episode number 127. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Beyond the High Road, a podcast dedicated to healing your heart and life following the grief of alienation. I'm your host, Shelby Milford, a twice certified life coach specializing in post-traumatic growth. If you're experiencing the effects of alienation and you're ready to heal, then this show is my love letter to you. Stay tuned.
Hey, y'all. What's up? What's the haps? My hips are back to hurting again. I had been sitting in a chair the last week, but not today, folks. I am back to standing. So today we're going to be talking about having a leadership mindset in your own life. But first, I'm going to show you, for all of you plant heads out there, plant nerds, if you have or know about Hoyas, they're all like so much different. And one of these guys just came into bloom today. It was already starting. Like, obviously, it takes a while for these guys to come. I wonder if you can see it. Hold on. If I can hold it up. Don't look at my boy nails right now. But do you see these blooms? They look like fondant on a cake. Oh, it's going to go funny. They're actually really shiny, but you can't see. And they're like thick. Like, you know how like fondant would be? They're so pretty. And they smell so good. Like sweet, like kind of like frosting. Yeah, like a really thick, perfumey frosting. They're so pretty though. I wish you could actually like see the shininess of them. I needed to nerd out for a second. I'm so excited. And I've got a bunch of other ones getting ready to flower. Okay, on to talking about parental alienation and being the leader of your life. I wanted to talk with you guys about this today. It seems to be a theme that's coming up with, well, I guess always really with my clients. I'm thinking of 3 of my clients right now in particular are feeling a little lost. And I know humans in general, but then all of us as alienated parents have felt this way before, like needing help, feeling like there's not enough help out there, needing skills, don't have the skills, needing stuff, and not sure what to do with themselves because they don't have the things or think that they can provide those things for themselves. Make sense? Also, one of the clients I'm thinking about right now isn't actually even sure of what it is that entails. He's in the boat that I was in back in the day where I didn't dream. I didn't have dreams. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to find them. How was I going to get to know myself? I should know myself by now. How does one go about doing that? Why can't I trust or hear my own desires and follow them? It's like I had no clue how to tap into that part of me that I did know, but I didn't know that I knew. And also, there was like, there's context to that because depending on your childhood, depending on the dynamics of the relationships that you had held as a kid, this could show up in different ways for you. But if you are like me and like the client that I was just talking about, where as a child, you from the get learned your opinion wasn't valued, or in your mind, you feel like it sort of came up short or you weren't doing enough or doing it right. And so then you just decided early on it was just easier to defer to whoever was telling you how to do it. If you're that type, then it might be really, really difficult to act as the leader in your own life because you've always followed somebody else. Right? And so now it's really uncomfortable to listen to yourself and feel like it's the right thing, that you're doing the right thing. It feels really shaky and not natural. But I know that not every single one of you that's listening is going to have that problem. You may know exactly what you want. And in fact, you might be listening to me right now and saying, Shelby, what are you talking about? I am an excellent leader. I work in corporate America. I led the PTA 8 years in a row. I know how to lead. I'm a project manager at work. That's literally my job. I manage all of my kids superbly. I know how to lead. But my question to you would be, how are you doing at leading your own life? And not that I'm doubting you. Maybe you are doing fantastic at this. And if that's the case, you probably wouldn't have even really clicked on this episode, but are there areas in your life that you're practicing amazing leadership skills, but then there's also some areas that maybe you're not? And what are those areas? How are you at recognizing and leading yourself to the desires that you have, the goals that you have? How are you at managing to follow your calendar, what you put on your calendar? How are you at recognizing your dislikes, honoring those dislikes? How are you at managing yourself in the relationships that you have and hold? Managing your self-talk. How do you talk to yourself on a regular basis? Which really is like the beginning of everything. How are you at leading yourself through and managing your own emotions? Not that emotions are something to manage, but allowing yourself to feel is for sure leading yourself in an effective way. How are you at paying attention to yourself? Like really listening to what it is that you need or want? Do you even know what those things are? Your mental health. How are you at leading yourself through and advocating for your own mental health, good mental health? Self-care, another one. Are you leading yourself in the way that you desire, in the way that you're taking care of yourself in the day-to-day? Do you even know what that is? Because it's not just taking care of your self-care isn't just about going to get your nails done and going to therapy or listening to this podcast or whatever other podcast, reading the books. Yes, that is part of it, but it's not everything. There's steps afterwards. What did you read in those books? What takeaways did you get from all of the podcasts and YouTube videos that you watched? Have you developed a plan as a result of that information that you've received or consumed in whatever way you have, right? Are you implementing those things in your life? The level at which you lead yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, and of course your actions as a result will match the level that you lead other people with. So you managing your own life in the most effective and loving way is going to make you such a better leader overall. If you're sitting there and thinking, but I'm not a leader, I couldn't lead anybody. I can't even lead myself. I just want you to know that you are a leader. You were born to lead. There are people out there that right now look to you to lead them, to inform them, to show them the way. They look up to you. They need you in their life to lead them. They depend on you. And if right now it's not because, like, let's say you're not in contact with your kids and your kids are the ones that you did lead before, and so now you feel like you're out in no man's land, just know this. There are people, whether that's your kids, I don't know. There are people right now that are waiting on you to show up for them in their life so that you can lead them. There are people depending on you. So you must develop your skills to lead you so that you can help them. You are meant to lead. You are meant to show others the way. And now, just as I said, we're all leaders. We are also all born as followers too. It's important that we have both of those aspects in our lives. Like, I don't always want to lead. I don't. I definitely don't always want to lead. I want to follow other people, let them show me the way. Because I don't have all the answers and I don't want to have all the answers. But I refuse to be a follower in my own life, to play the passive role in my own life. I want to show up as the CEO of my world. When I am in the mode of like ricocheting and reacting off of the elements, the things that happen, the people that show up in my life, then I have no control, no authority. And that feels really shaky. It feels much worse than going out there and doing something new, worried that I might fail or something like that. Being reactive feels so much worse because you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop or for something else to happen in your life. It's almost like, when the teacher left the classroom or like your parents left the house and maybe you weren't necessarily like the party animal person, but maybe you had a brother or sister who was a party animal. And when the parents left the house, you were like, oh God, what's going to happen now? Like, now we have no leader and the shit's going to go crazy. That feeling is scary. Maybe you've been feeling that way in your life because now that the alienation has happened, you leading your children might have given you the sense of calm that you needed to feel in control. But without that, you don't know what to do with yourself, right? Like I talk about a lot, that sense of urgency. that I had. I was just talking about it probably last week or something, that sense of urgency that was always in my stomach, like just was turning. And I was anxious all the time because I felt like I had no control. This was very unfamiliar to me. And I know that I would not have necessarily felt that way if I put on that role of leadership in my own life. But I didn't. I was in a very reactive state at that time, which is what I needed to go through, and it's fine. My default mindset back then, when all the shit was hitting the fan, I was in stress response, right? I was in fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. I was very reactive, and I was definitely not in charge. I was more in, without knowing it, more of the victim mindset, not woe is me at all. In fact, I was more in freak out, like, what do? I don't know how to deal with this. They're hurting my daughter. This is lasting impact on my daughter's life and our relationship and all the things. And not that that wasn't a natural response, but from that place, I was very out of control of my own self. I couldn't govern my own emotions, my thoughts, and my actions. Everything was reliant upon them. And also the state of my daughter when she was brought home. I watched her like a hawk, like I was so hyper vigilant because in my mind, I knew that they were fucking her up, which I'm sure caused me to show up in a way that wasn't fully present for her, for this sweet 2-year-old toddler, that needed her mama to be there and not in a stress response. But be that as it may, again, I know that that's how it was supposed to happen for me and for her, for us. Now, would I love to have been all healed and to the place where I am today? Sure. But if I was in this place back then, well, first, it never would have happened if I was already to this place where I am today. Also, I don't know that I would have recognized what to do with the now me back then. I would have flipped out. It would have been a huge identity crisis. But anyway, that's beyond the topic right now. But nothing, and I mean nothing, will show you your default mindset like idle time or catastrophe. Idle time during catastrophe. When your world blows up and you have nowhere to run, nowhere to bury your thoughts, nothing to busy yourself with, but you waiting. I had a potential client, somebody that we've been chit-chatting back and forth, and I've just been helping her, here and there for the last couple months or whatever. And she emailed me the other day, I don't know, the beginning of the week. We'd had a consult a while back. I gave her the 3 days. And anyway, I knew it was going to be some time before she did get back to me. But lo and behold, the day that she decided to email me, she was waiting for her hearing, for one of the hearings for her custody situation. It wasn't like the hearing, but it was one of the hearings. And of course, she's sitting there waiting, idle time, in an uncomfortable situation, and there's nothing that you can do but be with your thoughts, right? And in those moments, I'm not calling you out because I've been there so many times, if you're listening to this right now. But I mean, so many times I've been there. We think that we're doing fine. And I'm not saying that she's not doing fine. I know that she, with my help or without it, she will survive. She will be fine. But why should survival be the standard, right? We've been in survival mode for me. I was in survival mode basically my whole life. Most of my life anyway. I'm over survival mode. I don't want to survive anymore. I want to lead in my life. I don't want to ping pong ball react, wondering when the other shoe's going to drop. And I know that she doesn't, or you don't either, right? I don't want to just get by trying to blend in with the wallpaper, hoping that somebody doesn't notice and then blow my world up. I want to know that I have my back and have already developed all the skills that I need for anything that comes my way from now moving forward. That's how I want to be. But it took a long time to get here. I would have said, yeah, that's what I want too, back in the day. But when it came down to it, when push came to shove, it was much easier for me anyway. And I would have to say for most people, we don't want to have to go chance anything, get vulnerable, risk discomfort. If we can just try to skate by in survival mode, and because we've already been doing that for so long, we know that that's doable. But doable isn't, again, it's just not the standard that I want to live by anymore. And I tell you what, it was getting to the point for me that I couldn't anymore. It wasn't worth the misery that I was experiencing. And that's what had me in that so long depression. It's because I would never actually stand up and advocate for myself. Instead, I would just barely do enough to get by. I was just only doing the bare minimum to skate by and be like, whew, dodge that bullet. And then there were times when I would get through the big hump, and afterwards I'd either think, shit, that was all luck. I don't know how I lucked out and I'm fucked the next round. So I would live in fear, or depending on the time, or I would think, oh yeah, I'm amazing. I know how to do this, right? Ignoring, like pushing away the things that I've already told myself I know that I want to learn and do and become before the next big thing happens, right? We do this like with money. When an unexpected bill comes, like your dishwasher breaks, and all of a sudden all of the savings, the little tiny bit of savings that you had, or maybe you had nothing, you were like, shit, I never want to get myself in this position again. So you swear to yourself that you're going to save. And then something comes up where you want to go shopping or go on a trip and you blow your savings, and then you're back where you started, right? It's the same thing with our mental health, or like with your life, with every area, right? You can apply that. I'm sure we could come up with examples in all the ways, but definitely with my mental health and investing my time and my trust, my devotion, energy, investing into my own self felt like the last resort. Like I wasn't betting on myself because, again, childhood, how it was, I just felt like it wasn't a worthy cause or something. I never said that. The words weren't there, but it just didn't seem like it was going to bring me back a return. I was better off relying on somebody else. It's just how I was raised. Back then, I just wanted the results quick. That's what my ego and what my brain wanted. I just wanted things to just happen, quick, instant gratification, right? But that's not really what I always wanted. Really, what I always wanted was to develop the skills and to earn all of that, to have all the experiences that built up to getting the things that I wanted instantly. That's what my soul wanted. When I just got the things that I wanted instantly, I never really appreciated them. In the moment, it was like the instant, like, phew, I got it. Yeah. And then it was empty, right? Because I was still basing my happiness and my whole life, the management of my life, on the outside world. And that's what I know that so many of us do as alienated parents. We're basing our happiness and our everything is contingent, really, on how the alienating parent is being, how the judges and the lawyers and the gals and the, how they're behaving or not behaving, right? On our children, if they're calling, if they're returning our calls, if they're smiling at us, speaking to us, all the things. When we're basing it all on that, you will ultimately be disappointed because you're managing your life in a very reactive state based on other energies coming in. But when those energies aren't coming in the way that you want them or need them to, then what? Then what? Then you're fucked. It's a very needy place to live. And I don't mean any disrespect to you when I say that. I'm saying that because I want to help you to move past that and become the CEO or the leader of your own life and not need that, I get this often where somebody will comment on a video or say to me in a consult, usually it'll come up like, there needs to be more resources for alienated parents. There needs to be more help available. And I know, I agree with you, but I want you to live by the belief that no help is coming. Nobody's coming to help you. Nobody's coming to save you. It's not for them to do your saving. That's where I want to help you to get to, because then you don't need the help when it does come. Then you're not reliant upon that. If nothing is contingent on them, whoever them is. I want to help you become self-reliant in all the ways, but especially in the way that you lead yourself through your everyday life. A leader in your own life would mean that you aren't waiting for the rescuer to come, that you're collecting data, that you've developed a plan, that you are making decisions, educated, mindful, sound decisions on the day-to-day, and you're starting to feel comfortable making those decisions. You're not looking to others to make those decisions for you, or you're not waiting on information at all times. Your life isn't contingent, right, on all the things. A leader feels equipped with what they have in front of them and inside of them, an inner compass that they trust, that they know works and is going to get them from point A to point B, that they know a leader knows where point B is, right? And if maybe it's not exactly, but you know the direction that you're headed. Because we're talking about being a leader in your own life, you are investing in you emotionally. You're investing in yourself physically, educationally, mentally. You are all in on you. Like I was saying earlier, about how I didn't think it was worthwhile to wait and use my own resources, what I had in my brain. It would be easier just to go outside of me and find the answers from other people that had already been through it. And I'm not saying that there's not a benefit in that, right? There's definitely value in finding information out from people who have been through it before. I know that's what you guys are doing here with me, right? But you'll make the decisions in your own life. Are you putting yourself in that role? Are you trusting yourself enough to be able to make those decisions? And are you supportive of yourself even when those decisions fail? What are you doing in those moments? Are you beating yourself up? Are you telling yourself you should have known? What an asshole. Why wouldn't you have seen the signs or whatever it is that you're saying? Are you giving yourself compassion, grace? Think of like a leader in a workplace or like a spiritual leader, right? How would they treat somebody if they were to make a mistake? Are they looking down on the person that made the mistake and being like, you suck, you should have known better, blah, blah, blah? Or are they giving them grace? Are they showing them the way? Are they understanding? And are you doing that for your own self? Or are you telling yourself you're a piece of shit and making things really punitive? Like another thing that I used to do, and I know we've probably all been there. I never said that I was being punished, like alienation happened because I'm being punished. I didn't have that language, although I know some of you do. Mine was more like, this is what you get for not being responsible. This is what you get for not knowing or not doing ABC, for being undisciplined or being I used to think of myself as being neurotic, like flighty and impulsive. And so I would tell myself that sort of like karma, because I'm that way, this is how life is for me. This is all basically, it's like a punishment. I should learn my lesson and be a different person, that those qualities in me or those whatever behaviors I was displaying were bad and wrong, and I needed to do better and be better. Which is really terrible. I felt really icky a lot of the time about who I was as a person. And because, of course, the nature of this whole dynamic of alienation is very punishing, right? So you have the alienating parent and maybe even the opposing attorney and maybe some of your family, who knows? Like there may be a whole bandwagon of people that are pointing at you and saying, if you weren't this way, this wouldn't have happened. That's how I felt for sure. And of course, I think we all have that from the alienating parent, but there may be even people on your side that are kind of saying that or inferring that. Maybe they don't fully say it, but there's that, you know what I'm saying, right? If that is there for you, just know, please take this from me. It's not true. It's a fucking lie. It's not that you're being punished or that because you were this way, the cause and effect, because you were flighty or because you weren't disciplined enough, you weren't doing the things that were required of you to see your kid, that this is why it has happened. Please don't believe that. It is a lie. And I am all about, I just got fired up about this. It's something I'm passionate about because it fucked me up for so long, like it'll bring me to tears. It really fucked me up for so long. Like I shamed myself, not even knowing I was shaming myself, because I believed it to be fact that I was just irresponsible and fucked up. And that's why everything happened. That I didn't care about my kid in the way that other people would care for her. So it was my fault. And I'm telling you, that is not the truth. Other people, and I know that you also know this equally as much, is that other people have done some crazy stuff, the crackheads out there and what have you, that still see their kids on a very regular basis. They're not being alienated. They're not being erased and replaced and all the things. And you know that I am all about personal responsibility and taking accountability for your life, okay? But you can't take accountability for your life if you're shaming yourself. They're two separate things. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Shaming yourself is going to cause you to continue feeling shameful and doing shameful. You're not inherently bad. The behaviors or the traits that you might have displayed in the past doesn't mean that they are static, that they're in you forever, and that you need to act in those ways forever. It's not who you are. Taking accountability for your life is like, okay, this didn't work for me. And understanding why you showed up in that way to begin with. That's being accountable and being responsible and being the leader of your own life. Is really coming to terms with and understanding. I'm not spending years back in your childhood. I'm not saying that. Like wondering all the whys of like why you acted this way and that way. But like, I didn't feel that I was disciplined back then. And I have more to say about this because actually just the thought or belief that you're not disciplined is going to cause you to not have more discipline, right? But there's a lot of areas of discipline. I just picked the word discipline. It could be any of the things that you tell yourself about you. But like, if you're telling yourself that you're not disciplined, I'm sure if you look at your life now, there are plenty of ways that you are so disciplined on the day-to-day and you don't even give yourself credit for it. So it's not that you don't have the skill or the ability to be disciplined. You are already disciplined. Chances are. I would put money on it. If you make your bed every day, if you work out, discipline. Walking your dog, discipline. It's just a matter of where you decide to put your focus. But if you're telling yourself that you don't have discipline, then guess what? You're really going to display all the ways that you aren't disciplined, you know? But anyway, back to what I was saying. Being the leader of your life isn't deferring to what other people think about who you are and who you've been up until now. Being the leader of your life is you deciding. And even if you like who you've been up until now, maybe you want to become a new version of yourself, right? You get to decide that. You get to decide all of it. Just because you were certain ways before doesn't mean that you have to continue. In fact, I would urge you not to do all the things the same as you always have before. You should always be changing and reinventing yourself, right? And whatever anybody else says about you, don't let them dictate who you are going to show up as today, because doing that is actually taking the follower mindset. You're letting them tell you who you should be, or you shouldn't be, or you're allowing them to live up in your head about where you're going. And that, my friends, is actually being in the passive role in your own life. That's what this whole talk is about. How are you advocating for yourself? How are you speaking to yourself on the everyday? What limitations are you putting on yourself? And are you good with those limitations? Like, even if you have limitations on yourself and you know you want to overcome whatever you're telling yourself that you can't do, just acknowledging them and being okay with them and not having a story. The story about the limitations is only going to cause you to become a victim to those limitations. Do you know what I'm saying? But you acknowledging the ideas of the limitations in your life, outing them, and still having command over them is also being the leader of your life. Like, I know that this is what I believe in my default mind, but it doesn't mean that that is going to rule my life for the rest of eternity. In fact, I have a plan to dismantle, unravel these beliefs, these limitations that I've put on myself. I know why I developed these limitations because of such and such that happened back in the past. And that's okay. This was what I was supposed to overcome. This is the leader talk. It's okay that I had the mom or dad that wasn't present, or the controlling, whatever you had. Or maybe it's not okay for you, and that's okay too. But like acknowledging it and then still standing tall, taking the ownership of it so that you can be the governor of it moving forward. The leader will understand why shit's gone down, what the challenges were, understand the mechanics of everything that's happened thus far, everything that's happening now, and where he or she wants to go from there. So the same for you. A leader is not just about what you're doing on the outside when people are looking, or how you're showing up, or how you're podcasting, or what you're writing in a book and how impactful it is and how whatever. Start with you. It's so easy to lead other people. It really is. But if you're not doing it for yourself first, leading with the other people is going to mean squat for you. Okay. So have it start from within. I know that sounds cheesy and cliche, but whatever. The last thing that a leader is, I'm taking this from a Nelson Mandela quote. I'll probably butcher it. Is the leader's willing to sacrifice all for the freedom of his people. And so I want you to take that for you. You are willing to sacrifice everything that you are, everything that you were for the freedom of you. What I'm saying here, guys, is your ego, your identity, you have to be willing to let that fall away in order to become new, in order to lead yourself into your future. Let go of the ideas that you're less than, that you're only secure when your kids are here, that your only purpose is your kids. Whatever those limiting thoughts and beliefs are, be willing to dismantle them and let them go. What if it's not true? What if those limits they're bullshit? Because they are. Just being able to notice what those limits even are. So, like I said, sometimes we've been repeating them so long or experiencing at the effect of those limitations for so long that we believe that it's fact. It's the way of the world, but it's not. The only reason you've been at the effect of it for so long is because you've been believing it. But this whole time it's been a mirage. So be willing to let go of that part of your identity and really all of your identity. Like in the Buddhist culture, religion, they talk about this a lot as being willing to dismantle and let go of who you are and who you've been up until now is when you will find freedom. And I promise you, it is so true. The day that I became just willing, like I hadn't let go of it all yet, but I was willing, I was not invested anymore in that me and who I had been up until that me. I loved that me, but it wasn't worth it anymore. The stakes were too high for me to keep investing in that me. That me had a lot of ideas that were really painful. The day that I was willing to let that go was the day that I freed myself. It feels so scary to do it, to say I'm just not going to have these ideas because they are my identity, but they're not, especially the things that are harming you. You have to be willing to let it all go because your emotional brain, your survival system will tell you that you need all of it. Your survival system is a hoarder, an emotional hoarder. So that's why you have to be willing to let it all go, like every part of you go. Just be willing. I'm not saying that you need to a little bit culty, let yourself all go and turn into this new person. But you must be willing for your own self to just let it all dissolve. Like that one episode about the caterpillar. Let it all fall apart. Yeah, that one. You know, another one that would pair well with this is the CEO mindset that I did about a year ago now, actually. But you have to not want or need to hold on to any of the parts of you. Because like I said, your survival system is a hoarder and it will try to keep all the things. You know, when you try to get rid of your kiddos' clothes or toys once they'd already grown out of them, but if you did it while they were in the house, it never happened. Everything went back in the toy bins and back in the closets, right? They just threw them in a pile. They're like, don't get rid of that. It's the same thing with you and your emotional brain when it comes to letting stuff and habits and ideas and beliefs go. You have to just be able to take it all and say, I'm willing to let all of this go. All of this ego, all in one pile and walk away from it. Just do it. It's like a Band-Aid. Just rip it off. It is a leap of faith. But I tell you, that is the biggest baller leadership move that you can make. It changes everything and you will feel so free. The baggage, all of the weight is gone. And then you can choose what you want to incorporate back into your life, But starting with knowing and trusting that you are the leader of your life for now and forever. And that means advocating for yourself in the best, most mindful ways. If there's something that you need to educate yourself about or follow somebody for a while or whatever that is, do that because you know that you're going to invest the information back into you and your life moving forward. Make it all count. You know what I'm saying? Don't just listen to this podcast or whatever else that you're consuming just to hear it, just so that you can feel better. No, please take the step and implement it. Develop a plan for yourself. Take one thing per each thing that you consume, like podcast, book, whatever, or chapter in a book, let's say, each day that you read. Take one practice, principle, concept, whatever, and implement it into your life like almost immediately. So really incorporate this stuff. Don't just be the consumer in your life, the passive doer. Massive, massive action in advocating for yourself in the best, most effective, impactful way for you and for your children and whoever else is out there that is waiting on you to lead them. Okay? They're out there right now. Right now, as you're listening to this, you're the only one that can do it. I don't know what you're doing still here. Get out of here. Go find them. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you like what you're hearing and you'd like to hear more, please make sure to click subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Also, for bite-sized clips and tips, be sure to find me on TikTok or Instagram. See you next week.